The Nexus 5 is the best Android smartphone you can buy off contract. There are some compromises though. Stick around and we'll let you know exactly what they are. The Nexus 5 has a 5-inch 1080p IPS display. In-plane switching, pretty much is super sharp LCD. Not as sharp as I'd like it to be. It's pretty clear, but not super clear. Only reason I noticed that because LG made a G2, which is a little bit bigger than 5-inch display, which is pretty much immaculate. So I'm just a little surprised that they took something out of the secret sauce to make this not as sharp as the G2. But needless to say, it is still a great display, and it's still better than a lot of the devices out there on the market. Inside the Nexus 5 is a quad-core Snapdragon 800 processor. So this thing is pretty much a speed demon. You can pretty much do all the multitasking you want, play console-like games from the Play Store, and you will have no problem, no lag, no hiccup whatsoever. I actually prefer Qualcomm Snapdragon processors over others, which they're not that many, but only because throughout the length of your device or the length of your contract, it won't lag as much. And other devices, they seem to lag a lot more sooner rather than later. So kudos to Qualcomm for keep doing your thing on the processor too. Keeping the Nexus powered is a 2300 milliamp battery that is, of course, non-removable. The only thing you can remove is the SIM tray on the side right here. Definitely get mixed usage, depends on how much you use it. So I watched the entire Prometheus movie on Google Play Movies. Did a couple other things, and that got me a little over 5 hours of battery life. On another day, a couple hours of Google Play Music, a couple phone calls, heavy tweeting, heavy emailing, and got maybe a little over 11 hours. So if you're working an 8-hour shift, you should be fine. If you're working a 12-hour shift, you definitely want to bring your charger with you. The camera on the Nexus looks pretty badass, but it is just another 8-megapixel camera. With one little feature, it has optical image stabilization, or OIS, built in, which pretty much keeps your photos and videos steady. This is great, so if you're taking any type of photos, you get less blur, and video you get less crazy shakes. So if you're hanging outside of a window with your smartphone or something, whatever you want to do with your phone, it's much better for you. The results of the camera has been a little bit of a mixed bag. In low light it's pretty good, in regular light it's okay. So it's a give and take. Sometimes you'll get great shots, sometimes you'll get a lot of grain and noise. When recording video, the mic on the Nexus actually works really well, like a lot better than most smartphones. It works a little too well, where if you're outside and it's a little, it's a little bit of weather, you're definitely going to pick up a lot of wind noise. So especially if you're trying to talk, you can sound like you're in a freaking hurricane rather than just a regular breezy day. Nexus 5 is now the first phone, and probably the only phone, that runs Android 4.4 KitKat. And although it kind of looks like Jelly Bean, the last version, it's a lot of big yet subtle changes to the whole entire operating system. Like, voice search is now in the forefront, so you can say okay Google, and from the home screen, and then you can start doing voice search. It kind of works like the voice actions on the Moto X, but not as in depth where you can do a bunch of stuff. This is literally just for voice search. Google now is pretty much more in the forefront, as it has its own page when you swipe from the right on the home screen, and then as well as you can swipe from the bottom up to access it. KitKat brings some other changes as well. You can now finally view your media controls, whether if you're listening to music or watching a movie, from the lock screen. So like any other phone that can do that, now Android can finally do that, when you can just skip play or pause directly from your lock screen without having to unlock or put in your unlock code. For those of you who are in the home launchers or launchers, you can now choose your default launcher as well as choose your default SMS texting app. So Hangouts is the new texting app, so that takes over the regular messages. That's now your all-in-one. But if you don't like that, you can grab something else from the Play Store and make that your main thing as well. Interestingly enough, the dialer in the phone app just got a whole lot smarter. So Google implemented its search into it. So say you're getting a phone call from a number you don't recognize. If the number is listed in Google Google Business's directory or whatever, it'll come up whether you know who it is or not, rather than saying unknown or some other crap. So, and that also works for outgoing calls too. So that's pretty interesting spin on making call ID smarter. Also, you have your photo editor is pretty in depth. So you can do a lot from here without having to go through a third party. So all that's now built in. The software bringing pedometer support. Hopefully that means we can see some more fitness app support, as well as the possibility of Nike open up fuel band support for the Android ecosystem instead of just keeping it strictly iOS exclusive. To wrap things up, despite the highs and the lows, I still give it A-. I think this is still, I still hold true that this is the best Android device you can buy off contract, and that's not because it's because it's cheap. It's it's reasonably priced. 16 gig model starts at $349, and 32 gig is $399 off contract, so you don't have to worry about anything. So, like any other Nexus, you still have access to the newest version of Android before everybody else, before you have to wait for carriers to put their spin and add their little software and all that crap to it. The Nexus 5 is a comparable device. Definitely holds its own against other flagship devices, but since nothing is perfect, you got to deal with compromises. The question is, before buying it, will the compromises work for you?